All right, so I don't think that a number of you realize just how big a deal the next several weeks could potentially be. And I think there's some stuff that has flown under a number of people's radars. And so I want to make you aware of it and talk about what I'm gearing up for, quite frankly. And I'm not just talking here to my Marilyn Manson fans and supporters. I'm talking to my Johnny Depp fans and supporters, people who came to my channel because I was covering Amber Heard's hoax against Johnny Depp. And I'm also talking to anyone in my audience who has been critical of the excesses and negative consequences of Me Too and of cancel culture. And really just anyone who's been interested in my channel. If you've been at all interested in my channel, then I would think you'd be interested in the main thing that I have devoted myself to covering for almost 4 years, which is the Marilyn Manson situation and Evan Rachel Wood's hoax against Manson. And so what is happening now is that we are about to, it has been almost 4 years, and we are about to enter what I think could be one of the most significant phases in all of this. Potentially, maybe not, but what I think really could be. And there are two significant things that are kicking off that are starting this Friday, coincidentally on the same date, although I have to really wonder if it was a coincidence. Talk about that more in a moment. But the 3-part major documentary that has been made about Marilyn Manson has been produced, and it is now officially going to come out. It has been advertised by Paramount Plus on their website. Marilyn Manson Unmasked is the name of the 3-part documentary, and it is coming out this Friday. And I know that it's going to at least be airing on Paramount Plus in Canada. I don't know if it will be worldwide or not. It was only advertised for Canadian Paramount Plus, but I'd be inclined to think that whether it comes out on the same day or the release is staggered, and so maybe it comes out a week from now in the US officially or what have you. Eventually, within the next few weeks, it's going to come out worldwide. And I would imagine that as soon as it comes out this weekend, that there will be a number of journalists worldwide, and certainly in the United States, who will be picking up on it and will be writing about it. And I really do think that this documentary has the potential to get a pretty significant amount of media coverage. Yes, Evan Rachel Wood and Amy Berg already did a documentary, Phoenix Rising. It was only 2 parts. It was going to be about half the length of this one, by the way. I mean, 3 parts is significant. You know, the Spacey one was only 1 part, right? Or was it 2? 1 or 2? Russell Brand, 1 or 2 parts. Phoenix Rising, 1 or 2 parts. I mean, this is a 3-part thing. The filmmakers claim that they aspire in this to tell the whole complete story of Marilyn Manson. So his childhood, his rise, ups and downs of his career and personal life, and then, of course, settling in for, I'm sure, what will be the main focus, the allegations. Now, I know that there were several people favorable to Manson who were interviewed by the filmmakers, and I know that they also bought 30 seconds of footage from my channel. I wish it would have been more. I had hopes that it would be more. And it doesn't bode well that it was only 30 seconds, because it's probably just enough to make me look crazy or shady or something like that, and to malign me. Probably. I'm hoping that I'm in this just because it might turn more people onto the truth, or at least put me on their radar, and so then they'll look me up and say, oh, look at what she has to say about Marilyn Manson. But probably it'll just be enough to make me look bad. But whatever. But I do have some degree of hope that they will include Manson's side of things. But, what one of the promos said that I read the last several months was that something to the effect of, but could it be a conspiracy? But some say it's a conspiracy. And it was like they had this whole long section, describing the upcoming documentary and talking about the allegations and is he a monster and all that. But some say it's a conspiracy. I'm sure, using that word conspiracy, I'm sure that people like me and defenders of Manson and you will be painted as conspiracy theorist or stupid fan conspiracy theorist. But whatever, we'll see what happens. But I have very low expectations for this, and I think it'll probably be more or less a hit job. But it's a big 3-part documentary, and I think the fact that it's not coming just from Evan Rachel Wood's perspective, and her documentary, it spent a lot of time on stuff that generally people aren't interested in, like legislation, a lot of time on her activism, legislation, the Phoenix Act, all of that. And then also on her early years, her upbringing. I mean, there was a significant portion of that Phoenix Rising show that was really just a vanity project, expose on Evan Rachel Wood, which I'm sure is one of the reasons why she did this whole thing, right? But this new project that's coming out Friday, for better or worse, we will see. But it's presenting itself as being more complete and more serious and more wide-ranging. And this will have a number of new interviews, including, I hear, with Evan Rachel Wood, who I also hear is going to be introducing new allegations. So this thing, I think, is going to get a lot of attention. And I think that it is going to restoke. It's possible it doesn't. It's possible, again, like I've been surprised by how many people are just over this and whatever. But I do think a major 3-part documentary at the same time that Manson is going on tour. And he's, as you know, he's been having a successful tour, not only with Five Finger Death Punch, but also by himself headlining. I think that tour, Manson releasing new music, the fact that a couple of the songs that Manson has released seem to be speaking, I don't know, but seem to be speaking about the allegations against him and the people who've been liars, and been very aggressive songs. I think that, together with his documentary, all of it, I think that it's going to get media attention. I think it's going to kick up new media attention. So we are entering here, things have felt pretty stable. They have. Every now and then, though, there was a story like, Ashley Morgan Smithline, one of Manson's biggest accusers, has flipped and now says the whole thing's a hoax, an illegal indictment, an illegal affidavit. I mean, those things have happened. There have been developments that have gotten media interest for a day or two. But I do think that all of this coming together, particularly with a 3-part documentary that is going to be released in a staggered way across the world, I do think that this could have a pretty significant impact in terms of media coverage. And so, y'all, what that means is that more than likely, there's going to be a lot of new shit and new mud being thrown at Manson and in his reputation. And also, I think there are a lot of people still who don't even really know what Manson is accused of. And there have been a number of people who've been able to just sort of shrug it off, even like Reba Meyer's statement of support to him, basically saying, I'm not saying she doesn't know, but her statement in support of him was like, yeah, I want to support forgiveness and turning the page or whatever. And it's like, I think that those kinds of statements lead people to think that whatever Manson was accused of, it was just some kind of like, minor harassment or whatever. And now he's not drinking anymore and he's, and we can forgive him. But like, actually the things that he was accused of by a number of these women, including Evan Rachel Wood, were like, it was really serious, like laughably monstrous stuff that there's no way that he did that sounds like it just comes from bad fan fiction, because it was. And so I just wonder when this documentary comes out and it's going to really, really hit hard on these monstrous, we know completely fictitious, crazy, loony allegations that have been discredited, but these monstrous allegations, it's going to hit really hard. And I just wonder now if there's going to be a lot more renewed coverage or media interest about, well, what exactly is he accused of, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. And so that's going to happen. And, Evan Rachel Wood and the others, they have been pretty quiet until recently, although Esme Bianco recently was pictured speaking at a rally with California State Senator Susan Rubio. And then Evan Rachel Wood popped out last week to rag on Manson a bit, trying to associate him with something or blame him for something that happened recently that had nothing to do with him. And so my point is, I thought maybe these ladies had enough and they had seen that this hoax sort of blown up in their faces and they were going to go away. But it doesn't seem like they are. So I just wonder now, with this documentary giving them some support, if they're going to be on the warpath again. Again, maybe not, but I just wonder that. And so then also, not coincidentally, I think, you have this Friday, you have the first protest, feminist activist protest of Marilyn Manson at one of his concerts. And so this is going to take place in Anaheim which is the closest that he's going to get to LA. And so I think that they're driving out from LA and busing people out from LA, busing out activists and so forth. But you're going to have a number of quote unquote feminist activists and even some California state lawmakers, politicians. The woman who's in charge of this, Caroline Heldman, she is good friends with Gavin Newsom's wife, and she is friends with and has been pictured with Evan Rachel Wood, Esme Bianco. I know that Bianca Kine, one of Manson's accusers, probably one of the most ridiculous ones, who even discredited herself in a podcast that she did where she refuted her own story prior to changing it, but whatever. Bianca Kine spoke at a city council meeting a couple of weeks ago to try to get Manson, along with Caroline Heldman and some of these others, to get Manson banned from Anaheim and from ever performing in the vicinity again. So maybe she'll be there. I don't know. But it is being now advertised online, and I think that probably in terms of sheer numbers, I think it's going to be very unimpressive, just like the Rammstein protest in Germany a while back were very unimpressive and were laughable. But you know how it is with the media. They don't need for there to actually be 200 activists or 1,000 activists or what have you. They just need enough to fit in the frame of their camera lens so that they can make it look like there were a lot of people there. And so in that sense, it doesn't really matter if there are 30 activists that show up or if there are 300, in the sense that it's going to be promoted by the media and by these activists the same way. So, this is the first time since Manson has come back that there have been any protests. And so I do think, particularly being close to LA, I do think that it's going to get a bit of media coverage, especially since it is in synergy with the documentary's premiere. And again, tell me that's a coincidence. I mean, look, y'all, come on. This is what I've been trying to tell you, is how hyper-coordinated all this stuff is. I don't mean hyper-coordinated like there's some like Illuminati person running the whole thing. No, I think all that stuff is bullshit and crazy, and I hate it when people talk like that. I'm just saying coordination in the sense that we know that a number of these people, these activists, these politicians, these, in Evan Rachel Wood's case, movie stars or actresses, that these people, a lot of them are networked in with each other, and we're encouraging each other with all of this from the get-go. And so when you have the media and certain politicians and activists and these accusers in bed together, it's collusion. And so I just find it very hard to believe that this documentary has been in the works now for over a year, because they contacted me last summer to try to get some of my footage. And that was, I believe, in August, July or August of a year ago. And, they'd been working on it before then, because I knew somebody that they had interviewed months before that. So for at least, let's put it this way, for at least a year and a half, probably 2 years, this documentary has been in the works, and we know that it's been completed since the fall because it was being shopped around. There were articles talking about how this documentary was being shopped around to different streamers and outlets in the fall. So this documentary has been out there for a long fucking time, and it just happens to fall. The premiere of it just happens to fall on the same day that Manson's first protest occurred. And Manson, by the way, he's been touring now for weeks and weeks. I went to his first show, Hershey, Pennsylvania. What was that, like a month ago? He's been touring for weeks and weeks. And he's been releasing music and all of this. And there haven't been any protests. And there are, by the way, no other protests of Manson currently planned. Although perhaps if this one is successful and gets media attention, then people will try to kick up something like this in other places. But there have been no protests, and there are no other protests planned. There's just this one night in Anaheim that just happens to fall on the same fucking day that this documentary that's been tossing around out there in the wind for a year and a half just finally decides to land like a fucking house in The Wizard of Oz. Give me a break. Give me a break, people. So, make of that what you will. But here's the point, is that these forces are coming together on Friday, and they're going to basically do the equivalent of trying to drop a bomb on Marilyn Manson, figuratively speaking. And while I don't think that these things in and of themselves will be impressive, I think that it's going to be a shitty, pathetic turnout, probably with the protest, and laughable. And I think the documentary will be very disappointing and probably pretty sort of bleh, basically unimpressive, just like I felt about other documentaries. But the media attention that these could draw in cohesion with each other, it could get some attention. It could get some significant attention, which, I don't think, and I've been saying this, I don't think is necessarily bad for Manson, because I think that he's got the truth on his side. The other side has such embarrassing things in their basket. Talk about a basket of deplorables, right? But the other side has such embarrassing things in their little basket. Faked FBI letters, a woman, Evan Rachel Wood, who's been completely discredited, even lost primary custody of her kid because of the shenanigans that she was pulling with his dad, who also doesn't seem to believe, according to court documents, that she was ever in danger from Marilyn Manson. You've got Ashley Morgan Smithline, one of the major accusers, who, as I said, flipped on Evan Rachel Wood and in a legal affidavit declared the whole thing to be a hoax and said that Evan was lying and recruiting women to lie and pressured her to lie and promised her what, it's stupid. It's their side, the other side, the people who are accusing Manson, they have so much to be embarrassed about. But they will be aided, continue to be aided by a gullible mainstream media. And I think this could get some attention. So we will see. We will see what's going to happen. But I am going to be covering it. I've been there every step of the way. And I went to the show in Hershey, Pennsylvania, because I wanted to get that. I'm going to be going back in Austin to see the Manson in concert again. I've got something else, kind of a surprise, but something else in the works in terms of Manson-related travel that I think you're going to find really interesting. And I'm really going to, I've been putting out videos on this ever since Manson has returned. I've been putting out videos on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, trying to get the word out even more on this situation and on Manson's comeback. But I'm really going to be stepping it up. And a number of you know that I'm working on a documentary myself. And I don't think that I'm going to have it finished by Friday. But what I've decided is that I'm going to take parts of the documentary, go ahead and polish them up over the next several days, and then put out a short mini doc on Friday at the same time as this official documentary comes out, so that people will have something else to look at when they come to my sites to refute this bullshit that's going to be put out there officially against Manson. And so my thinking is this, and it's always been this, that if people watch this official documentary and they see me in it, or they hear about me, even if it's just briefly, or even if most likely it's in a very negative sense to make me look bad, at least that might spur some of those people on to check me out. Wait, who's this crazy person that they're talking about? oh. And then they'll check me out online. They'll look at my stuff, and then maybe they'll see a counter narrative there that they'll find compelling. And so what I'm wanting to do then is take some of this attention that might be coming my way in terms of negativity and attacks and character disparagement, and use that as a way then to get the truth out. So people come to my sites, they see that I've got all these videos and they've got all these threads. The other day I posted to Twitter, and if you haven't seen it, go look, a long multi-point thread, point by point, all of the reasons why I believe Manson is innocent. It's gotten a lot of traction on Twitter. So I'm doing all of this stuff, and I'm going to be stepping it up for this, to try to take advantage of this in the best way to get more people looking at the truth. And so I just wanted to make you all aware of this. You'll be paying attention, and maybe you'll be taking a deeper look at my work, or looking at my work a bit more over the next several weeks than you ordinarily would find the time to do, because you know what the stakes are and what's happening. And I'll be trying to provide coverage every day. My goal is from here through the next several weeks is to get videos out every day, even if at times they're just short ones, but videos out every day, updates, refuting things that are coming out in the media and so forth. So as always, I haven't done a pitch lately asking for donations. And, I've talked about this. I ended up deciding to go back to work full time as a waitress, as a server, so that I wouldn't have to whine for tips and beg for tips nearly as much. But I have been, and I'm going to be doing some significant travel, and I am funding myself. Again, Marilyn Manson not funding me. When I say I'm funding myself, I'm saying you actually, you are funding me. And it's not Marilyn Manson. It's never paid me a cent. And it's not even my family, because they've got other things going on too. And my guy is getting a business off the ground and trying to flip this house we're in. That's taking like every penny he's got, right? So my point to you is, like, there really is no one but you funding this. And I commit to you that I am going to be Colonel Kurtz on duty for the upcoming weeks as this situation breaks out. I'm going to be on duty. I'm going to be covering it. I'm going to be fighting back against the official narrative. And so I really appreciate those of you who have been supportive. And I would ask those of you who have never given, but who have watched me a lot, now's the time. And I would really appreciate you if you have the money to spare. And again, as I always say, I don't want you to give what you can't afford, and I don't want you to give anything that would keep you from doing something else in your life that you get more joy from. So this is just for people who, don't mind spending $5 on a latte. Sometimes maybe you send that my way. Once or twice. So my links are below, primarily PayPal right now, because I've not been able to put new content on Patreon in a while, and that's something that I'm going to try to remedy this next week. I'm going to have exclusive content for patrons, but wait till I get that up. I'll advertise that, and then if you want to, you can get involved in that. For everybody right now, I really just appreciate primarily the PayPal tips. You don't have to have a membership to PayPal, just a credit or debit card. Or you can do the thanks button on the YouTube as well. But the PayPal is the easiest. So anyway, haven't done one of these pitches in a while. I appreciate you and thank you. And Colonel Kurtz on duty. Let's step up and let's keep the narrative strong on Marilyn Manson's side. And as always, even if you can't give, like, subscribe, reshare my stuff. And there are others as well who are doing great work. Marilyn Manson Uncanceled and the Marilyn Manson cases, Truth for Manson, Stand By Your Manson, and so many others. Justice for Manson. So, bye everybody.